So we are going to take the questions for our keynote speakers this morning. This time round, we will begin with group number 9.
Thank you. This question is directed to Sister Mary. It sort of has two parts. Since your doctoral work, have the church leaders in your country made any advances in education and formation for your priests? And in the same vein, has any education and formation for women religious been put into place to make them aware that such actions from priests are seen as wrong?
Thank you for the question. From my own experience about this subject, I was invited in the theological seminary in Togo to address this subject, because before also coming back here in Rome, invited by Father Zollner to study and start the Center of Child Protection, I was teaching in the seminary, and I was addressing this subject about sexuality, affectivity. So I was called in this particular seminar to address it with the seminarian. That is from my experience. But I know there are some workshops also, but in general about safeguarding in the church in the countries, some countries of Africa. About religious women, many workshops. I was invited personally, and other sisters who are acting in Africa on safeguarding. And also, last year, we had workshops together with Sister Jacinta and other sisters, organized by Missio. Frank and Joanna are here. They organized it. It was the first time we addressed for many superiors from Africa, even the foundation in Africa, we addressed this subject about sexual abuse or abuses of religious women.
Thank you, Mary. So we go to group 8.
All right, group 8. Thank you. Each of you noted issues with the hierarchy, and our group talked about the problem of some people who are in a position of vulnerability may confuse God with their superior, especially with obedience, thinking, well, in order to please God, I need to please my superior, who in the cases you talked about, could be abusive. How can you fix a distorted image of God after someone has suffered from spiritual abuse? Thank you.
I'll start and Teresa will add. How to fix is difficult, because as you said, and from the background culture, for a woman, a girl and a woman, the man being the father, the uncle, or the brother, the elder brother, is he has the position to take decisions on her. So the respect aspect is very deep. You have to respect him, and most of the time is by being silent. So if this man is a priest, so it becomes more, he has more power. He has more position to call for obedience and respect. And it's easy also to think when it's possible to realize that this priest has abused, to link it as God also can abuse. And that makes it very difficult. And in the context of the religious women, yesterday we were talking about anger. Not yet. This anger needs to come, but it remains now at the level of fear. Fearing God, fearing men, and so on. So that will be the aspect to work to make anger come before, and then being able to say that it's possible to feel also anger towards God, but not in a way, and it must be modulated, and to also change this image of God who is powerful, who can abuse. But it requires a process, accompaniment, and also to change at the level of cognitive distortions that are together. That is what I can say for now.
Can I say something? You are a priest. No. To be priest is a very good thing. But you know very well, more than me, the power you have in your hands with two principal sacraments, reconciliation and Eucharistic. You are a priest, but you are not God. The problem is when the abusers, who are priests or religious or sisters, pretend talking in the name of God or in the name of the Holy Spirit. I think it's good in our culture, sacraments not only are a symbol, I've said before this morning, are real. But we have to be very, very conscious of this risk. The problem is not the sacrament, the problem is not the priestly, the problem is how priests or religious or brothers use their ministers, pastoral ministers. I'm not theologian. I'm sorry, because I think now I'll say something very, very problematic. But we have to think very seriously about the meaning of alter Christus.
Thank you. Group number 7.
Thank you. Group number 7 has this question. In a general way, do you think the life of priests and religious men and women, true reflection of human formation they receive in information process? And to be specific, how well is safeguarding integrated into the daily lives of priests and religious as taught in information? Thank you.
I'm not sure, but I think the question is about human formation in priests and religious women in the context of safeguarding, or what they have done before. I'm not sure.
In other words, what I'm saying is the life of priests and religious men and women, is it corresponding with what they are taught in formation?
Yes, of course, this is the question. So who call the person who are responding to this call, priests and religious women? They are called by Jesus. He is the model. He is the person. He's a person who called. We are all Christian, and we receive also this call from Jesus to follow him. And he has an attitude towards each person, children, adults, women, and so on. So this question comes. And if it was about transgression, the promises that have been taken in priesthood or religious life, is another problem. And here we are talking about violence. So sexual harassment and rape and all this is not even sexual activity. So the question is, why so? The human formation in seminary or the program of religious life is there. Pastor Dabu Vobis is talking about giving attention to different level of formation to the priest. And also in religious life, it's addressed, human formation, who is human being, the maturity of affectivity, how to live emotions and the sexual dimension. But from my experience, is at the level of theory. It's not deep into real life. If a person feels some attraction, a religious woman feel attraction to a man, how to address it, how to live it, and is it a place where she can simply talk about it without being ashamed, or how can it happen? And also seminarian and priests, is it possible to talk about it? Because we have a body, and this body is normal to feel, but how to address it? It has not been given enough space, and that is what is required to do so, to talk and to name this reality, and to give space to talk about it openly, and people being guided, and not focus on what is pure and what is not pure, must be done, because it's happened that it's hidden, it's not addressed openly. And also the issue of power, the issue of dealing with authority. Sometimes this violence is not about sex in itself. It's a way of dominating also.
I don't know if I'm competent to answer, but I think it's important to have a very good human formation, especially in questions related with feelings or activities as counseling or spiritual direction. Because sometimes I feel there is not enough to be a priest to listen correctly or to counsel correctly. And so important as study theology is study anthropology, psychology, counseling. I don't know if here there is somebody from Canada. Well, I think, correct me, you from Canada? If I'm wrong, please correct me, but I think in Canada, to be counselor, you have to be a spiritual counselor, it's necessary to have a certificate, no? Some professional studies or certificating, isn't it? I think that would be very important for all, for everybody. In Spain now, it's very common to everybody needs a spiritual counselor. Everybody, no? A lot of priests offer a spiritual counselor. I'm not sure if all these priests are correct to give this mission. And I think it's important to be certificate.
Group 6.
Thank you. Group 6's question is for Sister Mary. We began thinking more broadly about the question you posed for us at the end of your presentation, and we were curious to know your thoughts on what formation is needed for the laity to support and work alongside the religious in the communities that you spoke of.
I know, that's the question. Excuse my understanding. Can you help me again? The second part of the question, how laity? I'm sorry.
The laity in the community that your sisters work in, what formation would be helpful for them so that they could work alongside the sisters in that community?
Lay people in this context, the context of West Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa, are very supportive to the religious women because culturally it's not easy to have a woman not being married. And in the church, those who believe, they come to understand that these women are consecrated to God, or God consecrated them, and they are at the service. So they know what they are doing, and they sustain them. They pray, they offer their services, what they can do to help. So it's also sometimes they are confused when they see some kind of relationship that are unhealthy among the consecrated woman or the religious woman and the priest. So they also, and because of that, it's a complex situation when they ask themselves, what is happening? How can it be? And they are willing to help. The problem is that sometimes they don't know how to address it. Also because of fear, because of the man of God, they are afraid maybe, and sometimes unfortunately, some priests will use it. So if you say something, I will maybe pray or do something that you will be punished by God. So they look at the situation and they are not courageous to address it. So if we raise awareness and empower them, there will be those who will help also to defend. In this case, it's about raising awareness about safe and healthy boundaries, even though the culture is about familiarity. So the priest is a brother. The priest is a father. We call it also like that in some cases, even though. So how this familiarity will be for collaboration, but not for unhealthy relationship or for violence. So I think again about education, raising awareness, and making things clear also about the gospel.
Group number 5.
I think this question is for Sister Mary. It seems that in some forms of abuse throughout the world, there is an economic aspect. So how do you address the economic aspect of mission within the church hierarchy that is seemingly contrary to the gospel? To put an end to, I don't have a different word, but to put an end to opportunities for abuse.
Yes, economic aspect is an issue. And as I described the context this morning, sometimes it's a deep dependency of the religious women working in especially rural area. At this level, I think we have to start from the structures, the system. So when a community is invited in a diocese for pastoral activities, the leaders must make it clear what are their mission and what are the means to carry out this mission. And sometimes it's not clear. There is not contract, what to do, how to do it, even about the time. And because of the vow of poverty, so they are at the service of the church. And it's not put the question, how are they going to take care of themselves? What are they eating? What are they wearing? So these questions do not come clearly. It's just we have to live here. Maybe there is a house without even inside what is needed. And they have to start. And that brings many, many difficulties. So we talk, and also when we meet superior, the leaders, that's the issue, the structure about a community, how it functions, so the members can be safe enough to carry out the mission. And at the personal level, is that in some conditions also, the religious women are very in a needed situation to have even the minimum of money or what is, and that can also be some kind of opportunities. And my question sometimes is, and education also that we give. I talked this morning about being gratitude, expressing gratitude to a person who did something to you, or who give you money or help you. So it's okay to say thank you. Either you ask help and you receive, the person is free to give. He is not obliged. So if the person gives you, thank you. If the person is not able to give, okay. But giving and waiting for something else, I think, is not Christian attitude. And that must be clear also for the consecrated women, to know that it's not because I receive even 1 million or I don't know, even 10 euro, that I have to pay for that. But we also have, as I mentioned already, organizations that are helping these religious women with many initiatives. I talked this morning about Missio organization and Hilton, who are helping and in the process of a kind of autonomy to be able also to carry on their mission. Thank you.
Group number 4.
Our discussion in response to your presentations focused significantly on aspects of formation and the way in which formation intersects with cultural elements, the culture we grew up in, and perhaps then the culture we're bringing to ministry, especially with the number of extern priests and lay and consecrated and religious in ministry. So our question is, where do you see the points or the places where we can have the most impact on the cultural factors that are significant for safeguarding?
I start and you complete. From my perspective and my little experience in this context, especially when it is about relations of imbalance of power and attitude, behavior of abuse, sexual abuse, sexual violence. The first one will be about the dignity of human being, man and woman. And the context of respect, most of the time is seen from the perspective of those who are children or women respecting the man or those who are in position or authority. The respect for human being is for both sides. Of course, who has, according to the responsibilities and role, the imbalance of power will be there, but not because a person, a man in this context, is a priest or he holds responsibility that he must be respected and he cannot respect the other person. So respect has to have this both dimensions or considering the human being. That's the first thing. And the way of dealing in this context and others, because it is worldwide aspect, depending on human being, is how we deal with power. When we are in responsibility, we have authority. So how to create space for others to be and to express and to bring out who they are and what they have. So at these two levels, it's very important. Education and formation, training, awareness. And it's coming yesterday also, Sister Opinibo and others mentioned schools where now boys and girls are together to study. And they realize that girls has potentiality, women has. So how to make it accept will be the steps. It's in progress. These two dimensions I can mention for now.
I'll say, I think, two things. I'm looking for you. Two things. First, in pastoral relationships, to be aware of the necessary boundaries, to identify boundaries, and to be very conscious of the factor of risk in these pastoral relationships. And second, I think it's very important, be aware about the risk of dual roles. To be friend and to be pastor, to be sister and to be friend. And I always say it's the same. You and me are women. We went to the doctor, yeah, and neither you nor me go to take coffee with our doctor. Why? With your pastor. Huh? Why? Oh, because my friend is a friend of my sister. Oh. Pastoral relationships are full of factor of risk, and that's not bad. It's real.
Group number 3.
Hello. Group 3's discussions, some of our discussions centred around what you've just been talking about, so power imbalances, boundaries, grooming, dependency, with a recognition that sometimes we send religious into vulnerable situations. So our question is, how can we be assured that the top of the church is giving the right message on zero tolerance and accountability to empower religious communities to put adequate structures and contracts in place to protect religious when they're sent into potentially vulnerable situations?
Again, I'm not sure I got everything. Please, can you repeat?
Do you want me to translate?
Is constructing a structure to reduce.
I know, it's a long one. How can we be assured that the top of the church is giving the right message on zero tolerance and accountability so that religious communities can put adequate contracts in place when they're sending religious into vulnerable situations?
Thank you for repeating. Yeah, zero tolerance about abuse is said by the Pope Francis, even though sometimes, we have to continue making it clear what about. But my experience about abuse of religious women or women in risk conditions is still a difficult issue because it's said they are adults, so they know what they want, and religious women, they have chosen, so they are conscious, they are much more mature to decide for themselves. So it's difficultly accepted as an abuse. And when we talk about pastoral relationships, even though it's clear that there is imbalance of power, they are asking for help. And the pastor, who is a priest in this case, is trained normally, is supposed to be trained, is supposed to be knowing what is asked from him, and also the dynamics of this kind of relationship. So for now, at the level of the church, that's what is difficult to articulate and to have also clear laws to deal with this issue. It's said in Vos Exilus Mundi that the condition or situation of vulnerability can be not only for those who are mentally or physically, but people also, all of us potentially vulnerable. It can happen. But when it's about a case, it's very difficult. And we are still at this level, for my experience, raising awareness, making, as this morning I say, it's even difficult for the sister to go to a bishop to say this happened, because they are afraid the response they will have is how the sister was behaving. Maybe she make eyes or smile or do something to attract, and even the community will say, poor priest, she did something to, and they will say, do not touch to my priesthood. So in this context of my research, we're still at this level. And because of that, for me, it was very helpful when, at least last year in Togo, we were able to talk about it to superiors. And some bishops in authority in the conference on the symposium of the African bishop in Madagascar were there. And this year also it was said publicly. So I hope things will come slowly, slowly at this moment. I don't know if I respond, but that is what I can say for now. Thank you. Teresa, you want to say?
That's the reason, because we are here. If there were only two answers, yes or not, I'll say not. But we are hopefully, and we are fighting, but the women, I think this problem, it's invisible, yeah. And we have to focus and don't lose the hope. We have to fight. And we have to try to convince we are not the sin. We are only women, not the sin.
Group number 2.
This question is about everywhere where people live together. How can we become or be good detectives to discover, to see the red flags even before they become red?
Thank you so much for all the questions and for the particular question. Yes, a relationship among two persons has its dynamics, and we feel, because we have emotions, we have needs, and we senses also when a smile, a word, gestures are communicating something. So among a man and a woman, there are also feelings, there are also things that can help to perceive that something is maybe not at place. And because of that, we are talking about boundaries. In a pastoral relationship, confession or accompaniment, that's what also Teresa was saying. Some kind of familiarities must not be there. How we call each other, how we meet, the places where we meet, and some words also, because people will use, for example, in this context, yeah, you are very intelligent, for example. It is good, it's to encourage. But the way it's used and the way it's repeated can send a message of wanting to seduce somebody. And this, I think from my experience as a woman, I can perceive if it is to encourage, to empower. But if it is to seduce or to say something more, I think I will perceive and start wanting to know what is it about, to clarify. What do you want from me? Or I think this, if there is a possibility, if our spaces are safe to discuss these things simply, maybe we can see the red flags before they become red. So creating space to discuss openly, to share, and to talk about our feelings and because we are in a context of work, and we can see how also we address each other. Because in this context of familiarity, sometimes it's confusing. You are my brother, you are my sister, no problem, we can go here and there, and not questioning why and when, the time, the places to meet, who decide, where are we going? Why can I not ask, where are we going to meet? But if you ask these questions also, sometimes it's become a problem. Why is it a problem? I have to know where are we going to meet. For me, for example,
Group number 1.
Our group discussed the unique challenges of addressing abuse that happens within communities of women religious, whether that's sexual abuse or spiritual abuse or emotional abuse, that type of abusive dynamic. And our question is, what structures or processes or systems are needed in those environments to create a safe space for a sister to be able to report what has happened to her? Can that be done within the community, or is there a need for help from outside the community, or what is needed? What would you recommend?
Yeah, Congregation Institute are asked also to have their guidelines and their policies. And in this context, there is, for those who have this, the guidelines and the policy, there is a person who is indicated in the congregation or in the institute at the general level or at the local level as province, and this person, they are known. And if these guidelines and policies are also used as instruments to raise awareness and to give training about safeguarding issues, there is a possibility for the religious women to address this or to raise issue when they feel they are abused or they are in the conditions that are not safe. And this can be, and there is procedure structures where it goes to this person, particular person, and she knows where to go, to whom to tell, and so on. And if it is needed, in this case of abuse of priests, abusing the religious women, it can go also to the bishop. So these are orientations that are given. The problem is that not all the institutions has these guidelines and policies. And at this level also, is in process asking all these, the congregation and the institutions to have it. And that's its help. For now, from my experience in this context, the civil law is not such helpful, at least in this context.
So we want to say a very big thank you to our speakers from this morning, and also for them taking us through with the answering of our questions. And I want to believe that we have gained something more that we are taking home from these discussions that we have had. But before we give them a clap, I've also been hearing from priests who have called me that they are following the sessions, and they told me, be sure to bring our voices, that there are very many good priests in Africa also. that not everybody is an abuser. So I needed to say that again. I know Sister Mary already mentioned that. So thank you very much, and we say a very big thank you to our presenters.